Hey everyone, welcome to the show. My name's Tom Springer, and you're watching Stuff I Never Learned from the Schoolbook. If you're watching me, it's Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. I think we're still at, what do we say, 2 or 3 Hawaiian. For anyone who's out there, let me know. 6 a.m. in Indonesia, and later than that, out in Australia. So, Stuart, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Good to see you here. So today's a little interesting. Joe, how you doing, brother? Jamie, hi. Normally I bring in my guest, but my guest has stood me up. So this will be a little interesting today. So we'll be playing this one by ear. So we're going to need some audience participation in this one. This one will be a little interesting. But like I said, I'm not ever going to not do a show I have scheduled. We just kind of wing it as we go. Kind of like I do with every other show as it is anyway, so no big deal. So, I kind of had to come up with some random stuff off the beginning. So, hey Sandy, how you doing? Again, for those people who are just not popping in, my guest is a no-show, so I'm kind of doing a off-the-cuff type of show today, kind of talking about whatever we want to talk about. This is almost like the open mic night that I normally have. So, if you want to come on the show, you can. Feel free to let me know, and I'm more than happy to post the link out here. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of talk. Hi, hon. Yep. No show, so we're here. But I do have a couple of questions, and these are questions I have. So hopefully my audience members will chime in and tell me whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong. But I do have a couple of questions, and the first question I'm going to come up with is spirit guide versus angels. Can your spirit guide also be your angel? Or can spirit guides also be angels? Or are they always two separate entities? Just kind of curious about that. Like I said, I do not have that answer. My belief is that they are different from what I've been told and what I've heard. Because I was sent to somebody through Jamie to kind of do a background check on me and everything else. Or I'm sorry, it wasn't through Jamie. Sorry, Jamie, I still haven't gone to your friends yet. But I went to another location to a girl named Lauren Moss who was on my show a while ago, and she did some writing for me, and I had three different people / beings who were my spirit guides, and I don't believe any of them were identified as my angel. So they were just identified as three different spirit guides. One was my believe a long lost brother of mine from Arcturian level as well. So he was my starseed brother. I did have another one who was from quite a few years ago, like a couple thousand years ago. That is also still with me, and then I have one that is with me currently, but apparently the third or fourth, however many you have, can kind of pop in and pop out. Thanks, Jamie, for saying yes, they can be different or the same. I was not sure about that, but guesstimating at that. But so that's good to know. Your guardian angel may not be a guide. Okay, and it's. Can guardian angels, are they strictly angels, or can they be family members? Here, I'm going to do this because I know that some people are going to want to talk, and I'm going to bring you on if you want. So, in the comments, there's a link to come into my StreamYard if you want to, and have a conversation with me. Again, this is kind of a free-for-all type of night. My guest didn't show up, but I'm not going to not do a show. So we're going to go ahead and do it this way. But as I asked, can your guardian angel be a family member? Does it have to be an angel? So that's my current question. Joe, I don't know how to say that. Is that Amakua? Our family that are guardians upon death. Did I say that right? Or am I just making it up as I go along, like I normally do when you put up words that have more syllables or more vowels than they do consonants in them? Yes, Stuart, I believe that is true. Your guardian angel is too busy to be a guide. So I 100% agree with that one. Oh, hey, I got it right. Woohoo! Yay! I remember the information you told me last time was basically to try to pronounce all the vowels. So that's what I was doing when I read that. So that's how I was able to come up with that word. See, I listen when you talk or when you type. I pay attention. Um, I'm sure Jamie's saying, "Give me a minute." She can jump on. I'm sure she's. I don't know. Sorry, but I'm just gonna say it. Women care more about their hair and makeup than I think a lot of them should. Um, I think most of them are beautiful just naturally. So, Stuart's buffering. Maybe it's just me stuttering. See, just like that. So no one can give me an answer. I asked the question: Can family members be guardian angels? I think that's kind of what Joe was hinting at there. Our family that are guardians upon death, so that's good. Um, because I have been told that the person who stands behind me, who basically was shutting me down from learning my abilities for the most part until he felt I was ready, was my real dad. My dad passed away when I was 3, and he was a very huge man. Um, he is very intimidating looking by people who see him standing behind me, but he does show himself differently to other people. He always looks huge, um, but when he talks to me, when he appears to and talking through me, he appears very large, very rigid, very strict. He was a Marine, and and I was his youngest, so he's probably very protective of me. But when he was shown to somebody else, he ended up showing himself to be um, more peaceful, more able to be in contact with him more. Hi, Missy, how you doing? Um, so it was kind of interesting to hear about that. So I was assuming he was definitely one of my guardian angels, but I didn't know if I would classify him as an angel or just something different that watched over me. So again, I'm kind of everyone. Please bear with me. Like I said, I'm still only about a year into this, year and a half into this, so I still have questions even at this rate. And since I don't do any reading of my own and I can Google all the stuff if I wanted to, I figured I'm going to ask my audience. So that way I can learn through you guys, which is the best way to do it. Joe, I see that you're driving. No big deal, brother. I'm just going to keep talking as we're sitting here and people are typing in as it goes. So that's good. Missy, I know you jumped in here just now. So just so you know, my guest ended up not showing up tonight. So we're kind of doing an impromptu. What's going on. My guardian angel is assigned before birth. That's what Jamie's saying. Jamie, you're putting dinner away. That's interesting. So my guardian angel is not my dad then, because he's my dad and he was alive all the way up until I was 3. So if this guardian angel was assigned before birth, interesting. My Native American side, I don't know if I can get this up there. I kind of that right there. It's actually upside down right here, but I'm gonna stand up so you guys can see this. So this one right here is actually a mark that was put on me when I turned 13, and when I got it, I was told that it was my great great grandmother on my Native American side, and she is the one who watches over me. So that kind of makes sense that she would be one of my guardian angels. I'd never met her before, but I have heard that that's what the tattoo that was put on me is. That hey, look, I have someone just jumping in for no good reason at all. Hi.
Hello.
So, I got someone right here for some reason that is just going to be a pain in my butt. So
I know you're not talking about me.
no, someone posted something on the messengers, and
Uh,
it's coming in from a Twitch account. So
mm.
they're just wanting to be loud and obnoxious. So that's fine. They can do that. So hi, Jamie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm
Good.
in
So,
my work persona, my work jam. So
Melody,
it is what it is. Oh, hey, Melody. I'm gonna try to pull it up on this so I can see comments too.
yeah. Um, well, I'll be throwing them up as we go, but
Cool.
um, but yeah. So I don't know if you heard me when I was talking, but the tattoo on my arm is actually from my Native American side, and it was put on me when I was 13, and I was told this my great great grandmother who watches over me, and that's what the
Mm,
tattoo was put on for. So interesting that's what was given to me, and as a mark. Because like I said, I didn't think it was my dad because he was still alive at the time. So I mean,
yeah.
unless he was chosen even before I was born to be my guardian angel. Um,
Well, that goes into the whole time isn't real thing. So, I
yeah,
mean, maybe, but as I understand it, guardian angels are, well, angels in general are they were never human.
right,
So,
right,
um, but we have a lot of human guardians. So, um, and you can have three, you can have seven, you can have, you know, there's no set number, and your number of guardians and guides can change as your um, as the need changes. Like depending on what you're working on, you're going to need a guide that is more spiritual, or you're going to need a guide or guardian that's um, you know gonna warn you when the bullets coming your way, or that. So you're gonna have different guides for different things.
yeah,
um
and I have that I believe because
mhm,
like I said that when speaking of the bullet flying and everything else, as you know, I definitely had that to where I was that person who hunkered down and said, "All right, everyone, we got to sit here for a second because we got something coming our way." And it was like, "How do you know?" And I go, "I have no clue."
mhm.
But
And sometimes that's your higher self.
yeah,
um so it depends on, like, I'd guess you probably have just an innate um ability to communicate with your higher self.
yeah, a
Like,
little bit of sense. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, 'cause that's what that sixth sense kind of, well, not sixth sense, but that gut feeling is
yeah,
a lot of times your higher self. So,
yeah. Because it also happens when things go haywire,
hmm
and things go out of control. For me, everything slows down to basically a crawl, so I can see everything happen like it's happening,
hmm
so I know how to deal with it, even when everything's
hmm
in complete turmoil. So, Stuart is saying if we reincarnate, we could be with our family members, for lack of a better word, years before we are born in heaven, and make
hmm
that decision then, is the question he asked.
Yep,
So,
you could. Yeah, because usually we incarnate with our. I mean, well, we have a contract, and that's who we're here with. We stood in line and signed that contract together.
right.
Chose for my kids, we stood in line and said, okay, this time, because chances are we were probably incarnated together before,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of us. Um, so said, this
Yeah.
time I'm going to be the mom.
Yay. So, so let me go back to the original question then. So, spirit guides and angels can be the same thing.
They can be, yes.
Okay. Uh, okay. Because like I said, I did someone did a reading for me. I wasn't she basically took a bunch of info for me. Excuse me. And she sat down and she just does automatic writing
Hmm.
and asks a bunch of questions and stuff like that. She went back and asked questions about my past. Spirit guides. Well, that's who they were. One was an Arturian. I guess he was my brother.
Hmm.
They said, and the other two were both from here, from Earth, but one was from a very long time ago, and then the one is recent. But they said, and she explained that the recent one, um, for some reason, stays with you only for a short amount of time, and because you're supposed to learn the lesson from that person. But then another one can come in after that to give you another lesson.
Yeah.
Basically, they can.
I had one, and it's weird because I usually see spirit, but I had one that was like that. And I'm like, I hope I learned my lesson, because I don't actually see them. And it's just weird because I do see others. So it's like I don't really see my guides and guardians the way other people see them.
Hi, Gwendolyn. I see you. Hey, Jamie. I appreciate you coming on, but I'm gonna throw you back into the audience.
All right.
As my guest is here.
Yay! Bye, guys.
So thanks, Jamie. I will talk to you here. Well, I'll be talking to you.
All right, I'll be in chat.
So,
Yay.
so thanks, Jamie. All right, so everybody, my guest has arrived. Her name is Gwendolynn Guthrie. And if you've all read the stories and the prints I've put out, you know what she's about. And I'm going to bring her on because apparently the one thing she can't do is tell time. So I see you laughing. So hi, Gwendolynn.
Hello. I am so sorry. My son had an impromptu concert at school. And yeah, and I thought it would have been done far beyond now.
That's all right. I had we were just talking spirit guides versus angels. Can they be the same? Are they always different? Sometimes, you know. So I had people coming on and chatting and typing in my audience over here to kind of help fill in the time while hopefully you were coming on. So there you are.
I'm so grateful for them. Thank you guys, and I apologize.
Oh, my audience is great. I tell my audience about family because we do something about. I'm going to start doing it about. I'm not sure if I'm doing it once a month or once a quarter yet, but we're going to start doing something called Open Mic Night. So it's basically just a free for all. You guys can come in and talk about whatever you want to talk about: cryptids, paranormal, UFO, any of it, multidimensionals, whatever. But we're going to start doing that about once a month, I think. I think I'm going to go to once a quarter because I have enough people to fill a lot of time. But I'll see how it goes. One of those tonight because I wasn't too sure. So
yeah,
hello.
Sorry. Hello. Thank you so much for being so patient. And everybody was amazing stepping in.
Yeah, see everyone say, hey, woo, and everyone's saying yay. So they're glad you're here. So, so Gwendolynn, she's right here. Everyone has seen the post I put up for you for the advertisements, so they kind of get a little background to you, but not too much because I want them to kind of build the suspense and have questions and everything else when you come on. But I never, so as everyone knows, I never pre-can anything. You and I are just having a conversation. We're just going to talk for a while. But I always have one question I always ask every guest. And that question is, what got you started? When did you realize that you have abilities, or when did you realize that you wanted to start doing this?
You know, when I was 12 years old, I had what I call a spiritual awakening. And there was an event that occurred that must have opened something up in me. And it was overnight. Literally overnight, I started having precognizant dreams. That was my first experience, was a precognizant dream where I knew a friend of mine, well, we called him Grandpa, had passed. So that was my first experience. And then from there, it was the shadow people. And then from there, I started hearing them. And it kind of grew from there. And, you know, at first, I kind of wanted to run from it, but it always piqued my interest at the same time. So I delved into it a little bit at a time until I was a full-blown investigator.
So I'm going to throw this up now, and it'll be thrown up throughout the night. Tell me if I have anything wrong, but I'm pretty sure I did all this because I went out and also researched it. So here's all Gwendolynn's information for the Fold Mysteries. She has there's two different out there. There's facebook.com, the Fold Mysteries, and the foldmysteries.com. Now I will tell people these are two totally looking different sites. Your Facebook kind of has a lot of the play-by-plays, what you guys are doing, images and places you've been and everything else. Whereas the foldmysteries.com is your page. It's literally where you can go out to, and you have a lot of stuff out there. You even have a place out there where you reopened your online shopping area. So you can go out there and click on the online shop. There's all kinds of little jewelries and stuff like that you can go out and take a look at out there. But then if you click on the more, like I did, because I researched the heck out of you guys, you have your videos and everything else out there. So you have all that information out there. So if you're interested after this conversation and after we finish this up, you want to know more, there are two sites right there that you are more than welcome to go to and go check out Gwendolyn's stuff. And I highly advise you to, because it was really cool when I was out there just kind of poking around out of about the half an hour I did when I was researching everything. So There you go. Got that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
No problem.
And I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Yeah. Yeah. The Fold Mysteries is kind of a new, Adam Davis and I have linked up to become a team. And this is our version of what we call a team. So a team is so much more than just going out and investigating a spot 1 or 2 times. There's so much more involved. So we like to keep people up to date on the things we're doing, the things we've experienced, other new things that are going on our Facebook page. But then our website is more geared to our merch and, the things we've done in the past, as well as it tells us everybody a little bit about us. So, yeah. That's the 2 directives for this.
Yeah, and you'll know you're at the right spot when you look at the logo, and it's a tree of life. Surrounded by. Okay, I think I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay, I lost it for a second. That's me.
Sorry.
For some reason, I have a way to break energy. It happens quite often with me. So sorry. So I don't know what we heard, but I was saying your logo is actually the tree of life, and it looks like there's a dragon that goes around it with an owl in the middle of it. So that way you know you're on the right site when you go to that.
Yeah, and if I can, I think that the logo I created it, and I put a lot of different aspects into it that I think some people might be able to pick out 1 or 2 things that are hidden within the image, but other people might be able to actually pick out all of them. Yeah. So there's little Easter eggs and hidden gems within the logo that, if you look hard enough, you can start seeing a lot of really cool Celtic and esoteric sort of stuff that's matched into one image.
Yeah, I just gave the large overview so they can just see the immediate image when they click on it.
Yeah.
But if you look inside of it, there's a lot more to it than just what I said. That's just the overview. You guys got to go look at that and try to figure that one out too. And they need to understand, because we're talking about that you're posting what you do out there and everything else, but you guys aren't just paranormal. You guys are everything. You guys do paranormal, UFO, cryptid, home investigations, anything that's kind of what I like to call weird and odd, but it's just our everyday type of natural life. You guys go and investigate or go and look at or ask questions about or whatever else. So you're not just focused on the paranormal. You're kind of a one stop for everything, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And people think it's really cool, but it's actually a lot more work, because there's a lot more facets that you have to learn of each of these topics to be able to really come in with a good mindset of what you're doing. So it's a lot more work, but if people are looking for somebody to investigate something that's a little more odd that most people don't get into, we're definitely your people. So yeah, definitely.
What are you guys doing lately? Are you guys just kind of winding down for the holidays right now, or are you guys actually actively investigating anything? Or did I break you again? Did I break me again? Okay. You're muted. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're back. Okay. For some reason you froze. I didn't know if it was you or me. The one person who normally tells me she just got home. My wife normally sits in another room and watches the show and lets me know if the internet's breaking or not. Because I can't see it from here unless it just completely goes haywire like it did earlier when I couldn't see either one of us. But yeah, so I was asking, are you guys working on anything right now, or are you just kind of down for the holidays, or what are you guys doing?
We're down for December only, just because Christmas is just such a hectic time of the year. There are a couple places that are nearby us that we're really wanting to delve into since it's the winter season. It's more Bigfoot oriented. So with my experience, Bigfoot tends to be more out and about in the winter time, late fall and winter. And plus, sometimes you can get a lot better evidence because there's usually snow on the ground and stuff like that. So we still are going to be out there, even though if it's going to be freezing.
Right.
Yeah, but we just finished an investigation in Wisconsin, out by Bray Road.
Yeah, you're right.
That one,
Elkhorn, right? Elkhorn, Wisconsin?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun. And, I think it was kind of neat because we brought in a whole new type and style of investigating. So we looked at it from not just a cryptid aspect, but we also looked into maybe a UFO phenomena as well as maybe more of spiritual connection. And we got some really cool stuff on more of the spiritual and the potential UFO connection than we did a cryptid. So
Really?
that was very unique. Yeah.
So Stuart's
Yeah.
asking, you said Bray Road, is that what you said?
Yes, Bray Road. Yeah.
Okay. That's what Stuart was asking, so he just was confirming.
Yeah. So we got the chance to investigate on Lee Strauss's farm. And it's actually, it almost butts right up against Bray Road, but you don't get in from Bray Road. You get in from the other side off of a different, yeah. But it was really cool. One of the most really cool things that we saw the whole time we were there was while the investigation was over and we were sitting in the car and we wanted to spend the night there because we drove all the way out there, obviously. And it was so cold and so windy. We're like, we can't set up a tent. So we slept in our car. We were like, we're not leaving. We wanted something to happen overnight. So we slept in our car. And when we were laying down to get ready to go to sleep, there we saw this big streak of light in the sky. It was a very cartoon-esque meteorite that was coming into our atmosphere. And it had a double tail on it. And as soon as it hit the atmosphere, it was like an explosion lit up the whole sky.
Oh, cool.
And that was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah, but, that part may or may not have been, anything, but it was still really cool.
So Joe, being from Hawaii, says, snowing outside, let's spend the night outside looking for Bigfoot. That's the life.
Yep.
So when you did this investigation, and that you had some, did I lose you? Okay.
No, just for a second.
Okay. Apparently stuff just doesn't want me to talk tonight. I don't know. But the investigation you just did, you talked about how you had some really good ties from paranormal and UFO, or spirit and UFO. Can you talk about that? What it was?
So we did what's called the Gonsfeld experiment. So I'm sure most of you already know what that is, but that's basically where you take away as many senses as you possibly can. And the only thing that you're experiencing is the spirit box and the phenomena that's coming through it. And it tends to open up your mind to be more receptive to these messages that are supposed to be coming through.
Right.
Additionally, while I'm asking the questions, the other person's wearing the headphones and are blindfolded. So they can't see or hear the questions I'm asking. So that validates the questioning if the answers match the questions.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the experiment that we conducted. And we got a really cool, exchange of conversation within that. And pretty much all the answers matched our questions. And it kept talking about a key and, being the friend of somebody. And it kept hovering around Adam, and it was laughing a lot and saying that it really liked everybody. And then afterwards, when we went to bed, I actually had a dream about a woods witch, and that was never said to me, but that's the only thing that came to mind when I woke up and thought about the dream. I was like, that was like a woods witch. She was very unproportionate, and her body was very weirdly shapen. Her arms would move weird, and she hovered around Adam a lot, and she kept trying to give us something. And she was trying to have us do something for her at the same time. But after I woke up, I actually looked a little bit into what that could potentially be, and I came across the Baba Yaga.
Oh,
well, it turns out, So it turns out when I talked to Ryan Skinner, he's researched that area a lot, and he's from there. So when I talked to him about the dream, he's like, really? Come to find out, there is this lore of this cabin in the woods that belongs to a witch. And when I researched my dream, I came up with the Baba Yaga as well. So that was very kind of unique.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, that's got to be cool. So I got to ask, because you also do Bigfoot investigations, as we were talking about. what is the best piece of evidence that you have come up with?
Um, Probably, I mean, it's really hard out in the field because, you can find hair samples and you can find footprints, but the best evidence, honestly, is your own personal experiences that drives you to find more evidence. That's like your motivating force. So that's my best evidence, but the best evidence I've had that has been useful has been my footprint patterns that I collected about 4 years ago.
Okay, I lost you with that last part.
It was probably the footprint patterns that I collected about 4 years ago. Yeah, that showed opposite strides of the dermal ridge and everything.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah,
Stay out of the woods.
I had on someone earlier. I don't know if you know who Jessica Jones is, the cryptid huntress, but she was on my show earlier, and she had a discussion. We had a discussion about, is Bigfoot from another dimension?
Well, my theories are wide ranging. I think I've told you before, I don't stick to one theory, but I think that we're getting kind of a mixed bag. I think we could potentially be experiencing things that are more along the paranormal lines that are getting confused for Bigfoot experiences. But then there's also the Bigfoot experiences. And I do believe Bigfoot is flesh and blood, but I do think that it has some paranormal aspects to it. And I only say paranormal because if it's flesh and blood, it's got to be able to obtain these abilities from somewhere where we just don't understand yet. So we call it paranormal.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because there was a Jessica will talk about how she finds portals that they believe they go in and out of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how their travel is. And then kind of doing some background research for myself and stuff like that. There's really not. I mean, everyone's like, oh, well, you never found any evidence of them, no hard evidence. Well, in reality, we really don't find evidence of a lot of creatures that are out in the woods. I mean, I think we've only found five fossilized bear teeth or something like that in the whole time
Wow.
that bears have been out there. So it's really rare even to find stuff that we know is out there on a regular basis, and that's been over all time. There's only been like 5 fossilized bear teeth that people have found.
Yeah, and I agree. And I live in the Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana area. And I in my whole life, I've only ever seen maybe a handful of foxes.
Right.
And I know that there's tons of foxes, but I see them so rarely.
Right.
Now, there's not as many Bigfoot as there are foxes. So how rare is it going to be to see one of those,
True. Yeah.
And, they're obviously more intelligent. So they have the capability to stay even more well hidden than a fox.
Yeah. What about the discussion? I'm just asking your thoughts on these things because I'm not.
Yeah.
I am not a cryptid. I like studying the cryptid, but I am not a student of the cryptid.
Right.
To say the best way I can say that. What about the thought process of when we were in the Ice Age? Basically, apes and gorillas walked across the ice bridge from Europe, Russia, whatever, over to here, and it kind of morphed or hybrid and grew over on this side because of its untapped environment that it was allowed to grow into, and it really didn't have the predators like it did over in Russia at the time. So it just grew out of that side.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, people, I think that they can make the connections of the varying types of these Bigfoot-like creatures all over the world. We see a variety of the way they look, the shape, the size, the color, and whatnot, because of the area that they evolved in.
Right.
Now, I think it's, I don't want to get into evolution, but I think evolution is a lot more slower process than most people
Right.
probably realize, and not nearly as extreme. So depending on the area and the terrain and the amount of food that they have available and the amount of predators that they have, that all determines how they're going to evolve. And, obviously the Galapagos Islands is a perfect example of that.
Right.
So,
Yep.
yeah, and you're going to see those varying types of traits in all animals that are similar around the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I mean, we even here in the States, there's a different range of something as simple as deer. I mean, Colorado has huge, just monster antler deer. They're the mule deer and stuff like that. Whereas you go to other places where you kind of go up towards Yellowstone and stuff like that, and the deer are smaller. And when you go down even to Texas area and stuff like that, they have large deer down there, but a lot of them are smaller deer as well. So it's kind of where you're at. But even here in the States, we get that same trait to where based off of where you live in a colder climate, warmer climate, humid, whatever else, it can alter what they look like or how they appear and how they grow successfully.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about your paranormal side?
Well, I mean, that's kind of on hold right now because what I do is I have from the paranormal, I feel like you kind of have to take a little bit of time off periodically, like maybe quarterly, because especially for somebody who's sensitive, because it tends to start to really affect your mind and the way it works and the way you see the world. You kind of get lost in that spiritual realm almost.
Yeah.
So right now I'm kind of taking a break, but when we get into more of the harder winter months, I'm going to start picking up on more indoor investigations like ghost investigations and stuff like that.
Yeah. You guys have done those in the past. Is there anything anything that you've gone to and you're just like, nope, no, thank you?
Honestly, with the times where I've said nope, no, thank you, has often been in my own home. So, because you can't escape it, you can't walk outside; it's there already. So
Right.
You got to deal with it. But I've had some pretty intense experiences. I'm pretty stubborn and pretty brave, so nothing that scared me away from a location.
Yeah.
Probably the most intense location that I've experienced was Halesbar Dam in Tennessee.
Oh.
And that's because I had a couple really in-your-face experiences where, it was just so blatantly paranormal, but it was almost so physical at the same time. And,
Wow.
Yeah, I can tell you the story if you want to hear it because it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I was investigating with 2 other team members, both of them female, both of them psychic. So the goal was to go in with a group of psychic women and see kind of what we could stir up with that. We stirred up a lot. We were coming down this tunnel and we decided to go dark. And when we're going dark, there's still a little bit of light that shines in from some of these broken windows. And I could kind of see what I thought was one of my investigators in front of me. And I was just kind of watching the back of her head, and I'm just watching and watching. And I started getting this really eerie feeling, and I went to look at her to say something.
Yeah.
And she turns around, looks at me, and she's just smiling. And her smile looks really weird, and she didn't look like herself.
Yeah.
And I had all my equipment in my front hoodie pocket. I always wear a hoodie so I could put all my stuff in there.
Yeah, so yeah.
But it jiggles. So when you're trying to hear stuff, you got to hold on to it. So I was holding on to everything inside my pocket. And my investigator reaches out and pats my pocket and then goes like this, like, almost like, watch this. And then smiles, and the smile goes all the way to the ears.
Oh.
And that's when I realized it wasn't my investigator.
Yeah.
Instinctively, I immediately reached out and grabbed for it, thinking, this is crazy. This is not real. She's going to be there when I grab for her. She was not. She was across the way. So that was probably one of my more in-your-face experiences because I felt it touch me. It patted my pocket, with my hands in my pocket, and then nodded at me and then smiled real big. But it mimicked her appearance. But there was still just that little bit of appearance that was off.
Right.
And you often see that with like doppelgangers or mimics. There's
Right.
always something that's
I would
off.
say it couldn't mimic perfectly, but you can tell it was but it mimicked close enough to make you second guess for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Till
And
the smile.
yeah, and that was the weirdest part. It was like that devilish evil grin, that
Yeah.
smile. And that was the part that freaked me out pretty bad. But then I did a lot of research, and they always, in that location, they always talked about seeing, people that were being mimicked by something. And they always described not being able to see from like the mid thigh or the mid calf down.
Oh, okay.
They never see the feet. Well, I kind of connected that whole thing back to uh, Dolos. So Dolos was, oh, here we go. We're getting frozen a little bit.
Okay, there you are.
So Dolos is kind of an understudy of Loki. So the trickster god. And he was supposed to be making this image of Loki to try to trick other people. And he didn't get it done in time when Loki walked in and caught him, and he didn't get the feat finished.
Oh,
And
okay.
Loki was very, very impressed. So he took him in as an understudy. And
cool.
Dolos is supposed to be very much like Loki, trickster-esque, and tends to take on the appearance of other people, but always from like the mid calf up. He can never finish the calf down.
Right.
So that was kind of cool to tie that situation to some lore from the past.
Yeah, very cool. So you talked about the stuff in your pocket. So I have a question that is being asked. It says, Gwendolyn, when investigating paranormal places, what kind of equipment do you like to use?
I'll be honest with you. I think simple is better. I think when you go in there and you don't have all this equipment, you don't got all this stuff to carry around, and you just go in there and you're ready and you're open and you use yourself and the few pieces of equipment you have, I feel like that's the better. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll trade out my equipment and come back in with 2 pieces at a time. But my favorite pieces to use are the spirit box and probably my Ovilus. Those are my 2 favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the spirit box when we go on investigations. For some reason, I just feel it's very simple, and if I'm going to get an answer out of it, it's going to be very direct. It's very easy to use. It's not overcomplicated, and there's not a whole lot to it that can go wrong. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Jamie said she laughed because you reached out to grab it. So of course you did. That's why you're doing this. Normal folks scream and run, which is funny because my wife will tell you I do the same thing. When we're confronted by something, I'm trying to find out what it is, so I'm going after it. While the other ones are like Scooby-Dooing it out, they're like, nope, other direction. And I'm like, what was that? Let's go this way. And so
it's part of the joke when I investigate with people that know me really well is I don't get scared. I don't really jump. They work really hard to try to freak me out sometimes. And at one point I was walking through Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, and one of the volunteers was just happened to be coming out the room and stepped right out in front of me in front of some other investigators. And I did the Scooby-Doo run and never went anywhere. I ran in place and they all lost it because they were like, she finally got scared.
So I have to shoot. I don't know if you're hearing stuff going on while we're talking. There was just something that came through. It sounded like it almost sounded like a scream moan. And I'm getting people responding saying, what was that noise? Did anyone else hear that? I heard it. And Jamie's saying, I'm swearing I'm hearing stuff in the background on my headphones. So yes, I heard it as well. I don't know what it was, but while you were talking, it almost sounded like, to me, it almost sounded like a female, probably like a spirit female scream. And it was very long, and it started off loud, and then it kind of just died down, like it was a battery was running out. It just kind of died. It was very odd.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And it's while you were talking, but it's the second time I've heard something recently while you and I have been talking. Because I heard something. I heard something else come through, and I just thought it was me, but apparently I'm not the only one. So Jamie said it sounded masculine to her. So we're probably hearing it a little different then, because I heard it kind of yeah. And Mary's saying screaming sound loud and then it faded. That's what I heard too. It was a loud scream that just kind of sounded like it faded out. So this is kind of, that's interesting because you talked. Yeah. And it happened where you were talking just now about Scooby-Dooing it in place and running and not going anywhere. And it's, yeah, but I'm the same way as you are. I'm that one who I literally went to a door that everyone was like, something's wrong with that door. Something's freaky about that door. And I'm like, well, what is it? And I grab it and open it up. I'm like, oh, a portal. Cool. So, and they're like, you're an idiot. Yep. I'm like, yeah, but I know. I mean, at least I know you're an idiot.
Yeah, if I feel something eerie coming from an area, most people would walk away from it, but I tend to go to it.
I do too. Yeah. I do too. There's been once or twice when I've got that feeling in the area and I've been like, okay, I just need one deep breath. Okay, go. And I'm just like, and the people behind me are like, expecting me to take a deep breath and like pause for a second and everything else, they can kind of settle themselves. I just take a deep breath and I'm gone. I'm like, wait, he's going, let's go.
You don't give him time to think. That's good.
Not at all. Not at all. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. We're going to count to 3. Ready? 1. Okay, let's go.
Wait, where's 2 and 3? Yep. Yeah. Yes. I mean, because when you feel a weird area, that's where you want to go. That's where you're going to find something.
That's why we're investigating. I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to ask, because you said you investigated with a bunch of women and you had experiences. Is this the first time you've investigated just with the group of women? Excuse me, with the group of women?
Or have you done it? No, oftentimes.
Okay.
Oftentimes, and the reason I would go in with. Go ahead.
The reason I'm asking is because I know that when my wife and I investigated with other women and stuff like that, there was, if it was an older home that we were going to go investigate, and our ladies are not very proper at certain times, that it would shut the house down. Like they didn't want to talk because the women were talking, and they were like, no, they're not allowed to talk. So we just kind of shut them down. So have you guys had to experience that?
Yeah, actually, I try to form teams. So, prior to joining up with Adam, it was mostly my group was just me and another female. And then we just built our team around what was needed in the moment. So you got to really pay attention to the locations you're going. So are you going to a place, say you're going to a man's prison? Yeah. A man's prison, you'd want to bring women because you're going to get responses from the men. Right. If you're going to, say you're going to talk to a man's spirit from back in the 1800s, you don't want to bring a lot of women. You want to bring, a majority men, and you let the men talk to that spirit because you're probably not going to get a response. So you got to think in times of era and what's required.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. All right, there's another weird sound going on right now. So it sounded like something was winding up and then dying down really quick. Not sure if everyone else is doing that or just me. I want to come back and kind of look at some of these messages because Nikki is saying she's the one in the background normally when I'm like, all right, we're going to go. And she's like, are you sure? And then Jamie says every now and then her guides say no, and I respect that. Otherwise, she's going in. Jamie, there's where we differ. My guides go, that's not good. And I'm like, you're being left behind. And my guides go, crap. So,
yeah.
Yeah, my guardian angels work way overtime when we're in an investigation. Joe says, if it's a weird place, I still want to go, but sometimes the guides say nope. Yep, so just what they're talking about. And Jamie's hearing this, she says another playing music in the background, and there it is again, like what I said. And then Nicole is seeing that it's like the wind. She just heard that too, and Stuart's saying he's hearing it as a whistle.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, to touch on the strange noises, so all of my cameras in my house have recently been fried, and I called it. I said I can feel its building.
Yeah.
And I said, it's going to get crazy. It didn't get crazy in the terms I thought it was going to get crazy in, but it busted out all my cameras. I pulled out brand new ones and then I put those up, and now I don't have any. So, but it's weird because the cameras are actually trying to give feedback through the speaker when they're plugged in rather than, taking in sound. So
Yeah.
it's very weird. So yeah. And plus I know I have a man here, and
Well,
I have a child.
I'm pretty sure I've read some of your stuff before when you talk about your house, and your house just kind of does weird things on its own sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, here we go again. So
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes I think I might be a portal because even when I'm not out investigating new places, I tend to find like passing through spirits that'll appear,
yeah.
create chaos and havoc for a little bit, and then they're gone. And then a new one will come in and a different type of activity. But a lot of times I can tell the difference because how they feel. They feel like they're different. I can feel that this one's masculine, this one's feminine,
Right.
this one's angry, this one's sad. So
yeah, Jamie's saying we are all portals.
yeah, that sounds about right. I think some of us more than others. I think that the more you try to tap into it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm deciding if I do my damnedest, and I'm very good about it so far, not to open up in my own home. Uh, I am very good about this. I don't practice. I don't do anything in my own home, but I may have to change that a little bit because right now I'm not really going out on investigations because I'm kind of working on some other stuff. So, but I want to stay in practice, and I know I have a gentleman in my basement with me. I know I have another couple of people who are. One is attached to my wife, who is a younger gentleman. We know who he is, and we have a couple more that I am aware of, but I just don't allow them to. I just don't open up in my house to let them talk. So, but that's going to be interesting if I do, because if I open up, I'm going to open up a lot of different things, I believe, not just stuff like that.
Yeah, you will. Mostly it'll be temporary, though. It tends to be very temporary. So if you do something and you bring something in that wasn't already there, it tends to be very temporary. Spiritual activity tends to work on like a rubber band effect. So when you go to a location and they attach to you at that location and you leave, and you bring them home with you, imagine it's attached to a rubber band.
Right.
And after a while, it gets weak and it loses its strength to fight that rubber band. It bounces back where it started from. So I don't ever cleanse myself or anything when I leave a location.
Yeah,
because
I don't. We might sage our stuff, but that's really what we do, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean that's really more about cleaning your equipment between each investigation.
Yeah. But as far as me, I don't know what it is. I open and close very rapidly. I mean, when I walk in, I'm open. When I walk out, I'm closed. It's very instant. There's no time to. I don't need the 10 minutes to open and close like some people do, and I don't ground. I don't ground before I go in. I don't do a whole lot of stuff that I probably should, but I don't feel I need to. And that's just my own personal preference. So I'm like, no. So
yeah, and some people aren't as apt to be able to do that. I am not as apt to be able to close as quickly. I tend to still have that weird sort of spinny effect for a little while afterwards. But it usually clears up within maybe a day or two.
Yeah, mine just happens for some stupid reason. I mean, it's. I think it's because I'm being told it's because how many times I've done it in past lives that it's just automatic for me. It's like second nature right now. I'm going to bring in some of these comments because they're kind of rolling into what we were talking about before. Jamie's saying I had to start working in my home. They were coming in like it or not, and I did not like what came through. That's kind of what I'm wondering about. And my wife is saying you are going to open up a huge can of worms. Yes, I know this. The discussion in the past has been that lesser beings, best way to call them, don't really want to engage me, but the stronger ones do, which is fine. I don't care who they are or what they are. They can come and talk. I'm not. I tell people I'm not afraid of anything because I'm too dumb to know any better.
That's good. I like that.
And that's kind of how it is. That's kind of how I've gone through life and now this new part of life. Because my awakening didn't happen. You were talking about yours happening when you were 12. My awakening didn't happen until I was 49, and I'm 50 right now. So mine is very new. So,
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think
it sounds like you have a good handle on if you're able to open and close at will. That might be your strength, is because everybody can be sensitive, but everybody has a different level of sensitivity and a different focal of sensitivity. So yours might just be able, you might be able to sense these things while you're in there and just shut it down really quickly, which is something I wish I had, because mine don't shut down that fast.
And the part is, I normally don't want to shut it down that fast. I actually want it to approach me and
yeah. And that's why I don't tend to bring protective gems with me. I don't tend to wear amulets that are protective.
Yeah.
I don't sage myself prior to going in, because I feel like that closes some doorways, and I don't want to close any doorways because I want to seek what's actually happening at that location.
Yeah. And a lot of people tell me, I've had people in the past tell me, because I have said myself, I believe that some spirits are afraid to approach me. I don't know what it is, but there's been some times when we've been on investigations, and when I'm around, no. But when I leave, stuff picks up. So I don't know what they're afraid of me, or what they don't like about me. But they've kind of shut down. And I know this about me, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And some people are like, well, that's because you say it. You're saying that they don't like you, so they don't like you. And I'm like, no, they didn't like me before I said it.
Yeah.
Or they just didn't want to be around me before they said it. Jamie's telling me to try to focus on masking my energy. That would be great if I knew how to do that. I know how to build my shield. I know how to do a lot of things, but I am the exact opposite. Energy gets going, it actually gives other people headaches because it's so strong. And they're like, we can't focus because you have too much. And we don't know we can't block you and do what we want to do at the same time. So a lot of times I'll go off on my own, or it'll just be me and one other person, because I do overwhelm a group.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, I've actually met people like that, and it's very difficult for somebody who's sensitive to investigate with people like that, because you're constantly honed in on it, and you're like, I can't get through you to hear anything else.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a tough one, but it's kind of it's definitely a bonus to have, I think, for sure.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting to somehow find a way to investigate together, since we're both too dumb to know any better.
I know. I agree.
Stuff down, always going, come back. Why are you running away? Give me a hug. I just want to love you.
Yeah. And speaking of kind of like going gung-ho, the only reason I say this is because, kind of going at things like that, which is typical of people like you and I, who tend to seek that out. Sometimes that's not always the way to go. Sometimes that can shut down all activity, like you were mentioning with your girls. Sometimes they can get a little, gossipy or whatever they do, and like girls do, and then the spirits are like annoyed, and then they just go away.
They just cuss and are vulgar out loud. And
and that's terrible for most of the ghosts you're probably investigating in a certain area.
Guys in the late 1800s, early 1900s are going, women don't talk like that.
Yeah. This is disgusting. Yeah, right. That's what you tend to get. So each location requires a different finesse.
Yeah.
But if it's okay, I want to kind of go back to Jamie's statement.
You do what you do. This is your show.
She mentioned the portals and things coming through, whether she liked it or not. She didn't like what was coming through. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of curious as the type of activity that she was having coming through was more menacing or negative. Because I have noticed over the years, there's kind of like these medium portals, these high portals, and these low portals. And the low portals tend to bring a lot of the darker negative things that'll come through it. And then your medium ones tend to bring a variety. And then your higher ones tend to bring a lot more, curious or more positive ghosts that are just needing help and things like that. So there's a few different types of portals out there that kind of target what they allow to come through. And I'm not sure of the purpose of that obviously yet, but if it's different types of portals, it's obviously leading to a different place maybe. Right. So yeah.
Jamie, what you got? I know she'll answer because she's one of my talkers on here. So, and she was the one that was on the show right before you popped
Oh,
in.
how cool!
Yeah.
I got to actually see her then.
Yeah,
That's
that
awesome.
that was Jamie. So Jamie's not a shy, quiet type like like me.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm very shy and quiet, so as you can tell. So
Yeah.
so it was good to have her on the show. But yeah. She said this attached to my daughter. The house was on a ley line, so the mirrors were crazy.
Mm. Yeah. Mirrors are a little sketchy to begin with. Yeah. You're not supposed to sleep with a mirror in front of your bed. You're supposed to be really cautious about when you turn the lights off when you're in front of a mirror, things like that.
I am doing it all wrong then.
Yeah, well, if you got a mirror in front of your bed, you're opening yourself up to the window even more because the mirrors are supposed to be a window into the other side.
There's that sound again. It really sounds like it's a machine to me.
Yeah, there's a ticking clock. That's it.
It just sounds like something wound like it sounds like it's winding up. Um, it's almost like is your hard drive spinning? Are you on a computer with a hard drive that's spinning up right now or anything?
Yeah, but I'm wearing headphones.
Okay, but because I can hear it, that's what it sounds like to me. Is like the wind up of a laptop or something like that.
It's not. It's running, but it's real quiet.
Well, now it just changed. So yeah, so that was interesting. Went from that big wind up to like a couple of chimes, like a couple of bell rings. Yeah, Melody's saying that TVs can also be considered mirrors.
Yeah,
So,
when I was growing up, my mom used to tell us be really careful about
process right there.
yeah, be careful about what type of scary movies you watch because you can invite that type of thing into your home. And that's stuck with me to this day. I still don't watch horror movies.
So that sound, Stuart's saying it sounds like an elk to him, but higher. Like a elk bellow, but higher. So it's
Yeah,
really
that's interesting. I'm going to listen back to this because I want to hear it as well because we've captured really eerie things on my cameras when they were still working. And I want to see if it matches anything.
And it's going right now, too. It's kind of like a whistle right now. And Nikki says her computer just shut off randomly. That's my wife upstairs. So
no, that's probably from you.
that's probably from me. Yeah, could be from her, but I blame her. No, it's probably from me. And that's just it. I don't know if the whining sound is coming from me or from you. I can hear it, but you can't. So I don't know. But so many other people are hearing it, and you're not.
Yeah, I don't hear it at all.
Yeah, so now Jamie says, looks electric. So weird how we're all hearing different stuff. And Mary says, sounds almost like a fax machine to her. So yeah, there's a lot of different sounds.
Yeah. Nothing in here.
You're going to have to play it back. You'll be like, what is that?
I'm actually going to because I have like 4 videos where this weird sort of eerie screeching sound came through and then it died down. There was like 2 radios at the same time and then another loud like growl would come in and I've got videos of all these weird sounds.
The screeching to the down we had earlier. We had the really high where it screeched out.
Oh yeah.
Down. So yeah. And Jolene is saying that she hears many different sounds. Yeah, they're not repeating the same sound. Like all the sounds coming through are different, which makes me think it's not a computer sound because that would always sound the same to me.
Right.
And I'm around computers all day long. Some of them sound human, some of them sound non-human, some of them sound electrical or mechanical type sound. I mean, they're all different as they're coming through. And obviously you can tell because everybody's having the different sounds.
Do you want to hear something weird? I have a mimic that pops up in my life periodically. I think it was active the last time we spoke even maybe.
Yeah.
It's kind of died down, but when I would get that voice on audio, it sounded very electronic, like a robot, like hello, like that weird sort of robot sounds.
Yeah.
It was very electronic.
Sounds like the what is it? War games. Would you like to play a game?
Yeah, it sounded very electronic, very fake electronic.
Oh, so Nikki says you always talked about you talked about your cameras. Our basic camera always gets movement when no one is down there. None of our other cameras in the house has that happen. So, like I said, there's a male down here, and I have a Ring camera inside my house. I have a couple of them throughout the house, and one in the basement. All of a sudden, we'll get a notice that says like motion detected, and we'll watch it, and there's nothing. There's and it will mess with the lighting. Like at one point, and like when it first comes on, it's in all color, like you and I are right now. But probably like about a quarter of the way through it, it all goes dark and it goes to black and white, and then sometimes it comes back. And we're just like, okay, that's interesting because it's happened down here in the basement about 2 or 3 times that I can recall. And we've only been here for about 3 months, so it's pretty random and it only happens down here, like she says. But this is where I know the man lives, is in the basement. So I wonder if it's picking his movement up.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, that definitely sounds paranormal because it's kind of some of the same things that I have with my cameras because I get the motion detection and I get the IR and stuff, and it'll click on and off IR and nothing's going on, and you're hearing it go click, 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 and you're like, the light hasn't changed. Well,
the room I'm sitting in, so as you see the dungeon room behind me with the brick wall and everything, this is actually my office.
That's cool.
But the room that I'm sitting in, every once in a while when the motion, so I can walk out of this room and I can walk into my basement area and not set the ring off until I get closer. But the camera will go off and the light in this room will flicker on and off. You can see that on the image. You see the light come on, all of a sudden you see it go off.
That's cool.
But if I do it any other time, like if I'm sitting here and I'm just flicking my light switch on and off, it won't register the camera. So there's a combination between something moving and something flipping on our lights on and off at the same time. That sets off our camera, which is kind of cool. So
that is really cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, you might be able to. I mean, you might have to get to talking and see what it has to say. You know, the important thing is just start with your roles. You lay down your roles first. This is what I would like. This is who I would like to speak with, and I mean, you know the gist. So you really just set your ground rules down so that you try as hard as you can to keep anything else from interfering with your communication. And then you go from there, hope for the best. And if not, just know it's temporary. You might aggravate him and then it won't be so temporary because he's there already.
Yeah. That's perfectly fine. Like I said, I know there's someone down here. I haven't tried to interact with them. I don't know what he's doing here. I really don't care. He doesn't bother me at all. So I just kind of like, whatever. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. The only one I've really tried to speak to in my house is the little girl. Because I've heard her singing. She's run up and down the steps before. So, you know, I'm more intrigued by her. The man, he doesn't really want to communicate. He doesn't really care. I've got him on audio. I was playing around. That's the only reason I didn't post the audio because I quit smoking. But in the process of quitting smoking, I was smoking cigars, and you know, I can be a little bit childish sometimes. So I was making this Disney character on a filter, smoke a cigar. So I didn't want to post it because I'm like, I don't want people to see me like that. But on the audio, I captured him going, and he sounds very low and growly. He goes, "You're in my house," like that. Yeah, on the video, and I'm like, well, I live here too, so.
Right? You're like, look, I'm the one who decorated.
Yeah. If you don't like it, tear stuff to down. I don't care as long as you don't break anything.
That's awesome. All right, so what else we got to cover? What do you guys do? So, what do you guys do with the UFO and the what do you guys do with the UFO and alien stuff? Because you've listed on your page that you dabble with that, and you talked about it earlier. So, what do you guys do with that?
Well, I took a break a few years ago from UFO stuff because I had a little bit too close of a situation. So right now, the whole focal for any kind of UFO stuff is missing time. I kind of like to break my investigations down into topics so I can get really knowledgeable on certain topics and gain a lot of information at one time. Yeah. So right now we're kind of focusing on missing time. And that's a lot because there's a Bigfoot investigation or Bigfoot location we're researching where we probably had some missing time happen. So we started going into the missing time research too.
Yeah. It's funny you talk. There it is again. There's that sound again. that was a different one too. It's still going. It kind of went like a wind up of something, and now it's just kind of going beep 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 beep, and like it's really weird. Yeah, it's still going, which is kind of amazing.
That's wild.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know.
It is 12/12 right now. I mean, today, so God knows what's going on 12/12. So
yeah, there's always a reason for activity to spike.
It's funny that you're talking about the missing time, because I just did a show. I was just on a show. Yeah, even Jamie says it was a scream and now it's Morse code. Because that's what it sounded like to me. It sounded like a kind of so.
It's so weird.
I just did a show talking about time travel and how, and I nerded out on this one because I love doing that. But I explained how time can be missing because you're advancing so fast when you're around something such as like a large black hole. Because the superstring theory is when you get pulled into the gravitational pull, if it's large enough, you can actually skip time and move forward in time. So you have a missing piece of time. Mm-hmm. And are there places that, obviously there's no black holes on Earth, but are there places around here or portals around here that allow you to pass through such as that same thought process to where you end up missing time? And I just did a show on that Saturday. I was actually asked to talk about that on Saturday. So yeah, that was something.
It's really cool that you bring that up, because that right now, so you take different approaches when you're investigating one topic. So you investigate, well, maybe it's an event that's going on that breaks open this missing time portal.
Yep.
And then you think maybe it's location that's breaking open these missing time portals. So then you kind of break it down until you come to some sort of consensus.
Right.
And we're thinking it's probably has more to do with location and times, the time that you're at that location. So if different things are going on celestially or weather patterns, things like that. I heard something that time.
And see, I didn't hear anything that time. So
it was like a beep.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
I heard it that time. But yeah, so not only can you skip forward in time, but you can also almost slow down in time.
Yes.
So I know I have a portal here, and it's one of the most unique portals I've ever experienced in my life. And it has a very physical effect on me when it's active.
Mm-hmm.
And even Adam, my kids, anybody who comes here has noticed when you tend to get the dizzy spells around the door, around the front door, the traffic outside tends to move slower, noticeably slower.
Yeah.
And then the dizziness will go away and it seems like it goes back to normal.
Yeah.
So it's really weird. And everybody's like, why is all the traffic? So we'll go outside and we'll look down the road, see if there's any cause of it, something pulled over, somebody hit something. Never anything.
Yeah.
You just go outside and you just watch them go by real slow. Every single one of them. And it's the weirdest thing.
That would be interesting. But and it's funny too, because I talked about a lot of the time where the missing time seems to sometimes happen when it seems like our dimensional pathways cross, and then you come out on another side of it and something has happened, but you missed it because you weren't there for it. But when you come back out of it, you're like, what did I miss? Because you skipped basically that. And I think that could be kind of your door portal, because everything slows down. So you're kind of crossing over that path right there between multi-dimensions. So right there, you're going to that cross pattern, but when you come back out of it, everything speeds back up. So that part where you're with the cars that are really slow, you've missed something right there. You're like, what did I just miss? That happened in my dimension, not in this dimension. So
it's exactly true. And I often wonder, and this is obviously the most wild theory that you can get. It's leading into the whole sci-fi realm, but let's think wildly, because that's how we come up with new ways of investigating. So it even leads to them into the Mandela effect.
You said that. No, just put this
Yeah.
into Mandela.
Yes. Yeah. So that even leads into the Mandela effect. So what if when we are bouncing off of another dimension and we're getting these portals that are occurring, we're and our counterparts are slipping through at the same time and ending up in each other's dimensions.
Right.
And that's where you tend to see these changes. And I've seen these changes after living here more often than I've ever seen these changes before. Me and my daughter will remember a conversation I had with my son, and he says it never happened.
Right.
The Mandela effect is almost happening way too close to home for me.
Well,
a lot.
Yeah, but this goes to the basic argument that recently came up about Chick-fil-A. Did you hear that argument?
Yeah. Is it how it?
Because
the design is.
No, I've always known Chick-fil-A to be CHIK, but now it's CHIC.
CHIC. Yeah.
I
remember it being CHIC because
and now it's CHIK, and then when I go out to try to find it in the past, it's always CHICK. And I remember it CHIK because my son worked there. So
oh wow.
So
I remember it being like CHIC because when I was growing up, I always called it Chick-fil-A.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so I was like, and I didn't even think nothing of it, but I thought there was another one where the design on Chick-fil-A is different.
There is,
and
it's the way the rooster looks.
Okay.
Which way he looks. So yeah.
Okay, I knew there was something with even the design seemed off.
Yes, and I tell people about the stories about the girl who went home. She was driving home to go see her family, and she's done this numerous times throughout the year. She's coming from college, everything else, and when she got into town, she noticed the road changed. It went from a black concrete to a white concrete, and when she got into town, she drove around, and everything was exactly the same. But there were just small, subtle changes, and there was nobody out and about. And when she actually went to go find somebody, they weren't human, and they chased her. So she drove the road back to where she came in at. And once she crossed that path from the white concrete back to the black concrete, everything went back to what she felt was normal. And then when she drove back the other direction again to see what happened, the concrete was all black again, and she actually drove to her house. So there was a huge, it happened to an entire town. So, and that was, and I explained to people how common this is, because in reality, in our reality, the separation between the multi-dimensions is the size of a molecule in an atom. That's really how far apart they are. And because everyone thinks that they're millions of miles apart, so we only cross every once in a while. No, we can't see how close they are because they're that close together. So the fact that they cross, or some people call them time folds, it's happens a lot. That's when you see the pictures. Everyone thinks the pictures of the people holding the cell phone in 1950. And where did that person go? How come you only saw him once or her once? What happened to that person?
Yeah.
How can you ever see it again? Because it was a time fold, and you just happened to catch something at that one time at that perfect picture, and then it was gone again.
I think that you're really close, spot on with that theory with me, because that's kind of the same thing that I thought too. Because people are like, well, they didn't have cell phone towers then. How are they actually going to be using a cell phone? Well, if it's in a short little tiny blip of a moment and the camera happens to catch that, you could just be seeing two dimensions, two times even overlaying each other.
On top of each other.
But the unfortunate thing is, I think we're going to see it more and more and more. It's going to become more commonplace. The people's experiences with cryptids are going to start becoming more commonplace.
Yeah.
You're going to start seeing them happen on a wider scale. You're going to start seeing larger groups of people start to experience these things. And I definitely think that we're on the cusp of something. Yeah. What that is, I'm not sure. It could be a blending of dimensions, because we're constantly banging closer and closer to the one we're nearest to. The fear is, what happens if they do clash? Do they implode or do they merge? And if they merge, which one's out?
Right.
So, it's like a wild theory, but speaking to the spirits that I've spoke with and seeing the acceleration and amounts of experiences and time slips and things like that, it's a little hard to ignore. So
Right.
it makes you wonder what's coming.
And I think this is just Tom Springer thought process out loud. I actually think that this is why we're seeing more UFO activity than we normally have, because they travel multidimensional paths, and we're so close together now that they're slipping in and out a lot more than they used to, or than they were able to before, because of the fact that they're closing in on each other. And I always tell people, to me, it's like the longitudinal lines of the Earth, how they had a pole, and then they separate, and then now we're getting to the timeline where they're starting to go back together again. Now, I think, and my thought process is, once they get together again, we will have a period in time where we're going to have everything together. But then I think they're going to do like the South Pole, and they're going to start to separate again, and we're going to have another time period where they're apart before they come together again. So I think this is kind of like a millennial type thing. Not really for the time frame, but just saying, as rare as it is, I think that's what's causing it. Is it's going to happen. Everyone's going to go, that was really cool. And then after it passes, everyone's going to go, did that really happen? Type of thing.
That's actually a really cool theory that I'm gonna think on a little bit more, because just in the process of saying it, I was thinking, that theory kind of holds ground when you look at, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at these big events. When you look at these big events, like, with the periods and the talk and the spaceships that they put inside the pyramids, and then you got these, saints that are coming down from the skies that are spoken about not even 200 years ago.
Right.
I kind of want to see if I can maybe see if there's a time frame between each big weird thing. Yeah. And see if maybe we're coming close. I'm kind of curious now. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So that's just how my mind goes. Hey, you woke up today.
I like that. That's why I like working and speaking with a multitude of people, because I learn every day. So
I do too. You know what? I said I learn more on the show. I gain more from the show than I give. And it's just, all I got to do is give you guys a platform, and you guys teach me everything I need to know. Jamie's saying we are resetting. Oops, where'd it go? We are resetting Earth School. And she said by 2027, and Melody does say, yes, things go in cycles. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. I hear the year 2027 brought up a lot.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
There's actually a way, and I'm going to have to speak with the person who showed me how to do this, because I can't remember how to do it. But there's a way to add up the years and the dates and the months in the Bible, and it adds up to, I can't remember what the exact date was. It's like December 12th, 2027 or something like that.
Right.
And it adds up to those numbers. And I'm like, I have to remember how to do it, because I want to work it out, and so everybody can see it visually on my page.
That's not the only numbers. What's funny is, if you actually... so I have done, in my younger years, I have done tons of Bible study because of the numbers, because I'm a math nerd. And when I can go back and I can identify the numbers and I can put the numbers together, all the numbers line up correctly with something that has happened. The dates, the times, everything. So everyone is saying, I actually had a math professor who did this, who was also practicing to become a preacher. And he went through, and when he was younger, he did not believe in any of it. And someone told him when he was younger, go through and do the numbers. And he goes, and watch what happens. And he did the numbers, and he said the numbers came through perfect. There was no, whatever he was doing it for, whatever he was studying it for, he said everything came out exactly how it was predicted, on the dot, on the numbers. And I'll have to reach out to him about that too, because he did the whole Bible, and he showed me how to do it. And it was pretty cool how he showed it to me.
That's wild.
Stuart is
so my bedroom door just opened.
Well, hey,
yeah,
hello.
Yeah.
All right. Stuart's asking, atoms share electrons. Can dimensions do the same thing?
I think I wonder if that could be part of the whole portal phenomena. I don't think that they're supposed to. And maybe when, the electrons are slipping into our dimensions, that's when we're seeing these portals and other things that are kind of taking a hitching a ride, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it's but there has to be something that generates it.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to close this door. Okay.
And then Stuart's making fun of me because I said earlier I'm a math nerd, and he said, "Just math?" Yes, I know. Thank you.
I'm a nerd all the way.
These people know me way too well. It's because they know I'm a self-proclaimed nerd, and I'm self-proclaimed very, very lazy. So Jamie said the energy just shifted. It's almost tangible pressure. Interesting. Is that over your place right now, Jamie? Is that what it was? So curious if that's what happened to her house when your door opened.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's wild. Yeah. I heard a creaking noise and I looked up and I'm watching my door open up.
I saw you turn your head sideways, so I knew you were hearing something. I wasn't sure what it was, but I saw you kind of like, what's going on over here?
Like, is there somebody coming in? What's happening?
Yeah, what's going on here? Yes, that's going to be a lot of thought processes for you. Sorry, we gave you more to think about. So
no, I love it. I especially love this. I really am excited to sit down and go through these different historical weird events and phenomena and see if there's any connection and time frames between each.
Yeah.
And see how long it's been since we've had our last one. We'll see. Be cool.
That's who was that? Someone tied something else up with effect, kind of like when he was making his predictions, what the years were and everything else. And a lot of people are like, okay, so there's sometimes that he was off, sometimes he was on, but we really don't know because we can't talk to him. He wrote very cryptically, but for other things he did, he was pretty spot on.
Wow, yeah.
So, and Melody's saying she just looked up asteroids making close approaches in 2027. There's 3 of them.
I did know about that. Yes, they're going to come really close. They're even they're even tossing around ideas of how to stop them if they do get too close.
So, Nikki just said, I heard the noise I've been hearing, and then felt quite panic feeling in my chest right before you said the door opened.
Yeah, day in the life of crazy old my life.
And Joe says, for the ice age, they can measure how many we have had through glaciers.
Had of what? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Tell me what, Joe? And yeah, they have been practicing on identifying with missiles and such to hit asteroids and move them off course. They actually did one just very, very recently.
Makes you wonder if Elon Musk might have some sort of sensitivity of what might be going on, and he's trying to get some sort of humanity out of here before it's too late.
Yeah. Jamie said there's a lot of energy here. Better you guys in the audience. So
yeah.
Oh, Joe is saying the ice ages. That's been the reset for humanity. The reset button.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. That is. It's actually they've like you said, they found evidence of it in the rock layers. So yeah.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't know you knew anything about ice ages being over in Hawaii. So I would give him grief about that. So he can't talk about cold when I live in the cold. He can't talk about the cold. So
he doesn't like it.
He says, I came across something a while ago that said maybe every 22,000 years have an ice age. And Jamie said, she autocorrector said, when she said there's a lot of energy here, better you guys than that. She said between you guys in the audience. So she had
okay.
So yes.
That makes sense.
There's a lot of energy here, and I think it's making a lot of things go haywire. I think just the presence of a handful of us that are in here is maybe causing stuff to go a little sideways right now, which is normal. Haven't had it this much for a while. I've only really had a guest on in the past who she and I are definitely cut from the same cloth. And we made all kinds of crap go sideways. So this is interesting that you're a second person that I've had this with. That's been this.
Yeah.
That's been this strong.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you know what? Those are the type of people that I really enjoy taking on investigations with, because when you put out a lot of energy,
Oh,
you
yeah.
also feed the spirits to be able to communicate. So
Yeah. Yeah, there was one lady who I investigated with one night, and she was like, she stated, she goes, "Oh my God, your energy is just like mine. This is going to be so much fun." So,
that's awesome.
yeah, and we
That's
had
so
a blast.
cool.
We had a blast because we went in and we mostly like kicked doors down and said, "What you got?" And you know, and they kind of went, "Ah,
That's so cool.
people," you know. So
It's like turnabout. You probably freaked him out.
freaked him out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. Melody's saying polar shifts are also recorded in core samples. Yes, they are. Yep.
Yes.
Now the question is, there's two different types of polar shifts. There's just a standard polar shift. There's a magnetic polar shift.
Yeah.
And one affects way more than the other one. The magnetic polar shift. Okay, so I have to ask that question. I know we're at an hour and a half, but I don't care. I have a question.
Yeah.
We have gravity. On Earth, we have gravity. It's 1 atmospheric pressure, also known as 766 torr. It all equals the same thing. Okay, if we go over to 767 torr, our atmospheric pressure is heavier. We go to 1.2. So here's the nerdiness coming out of me. With us having that much pressure pushed down on us, what is the need for magnets? Why do we have magnets? Where do magnets come from? Were they introduced from another dimension or another crossover that put the mineral into our Earth? Because why would we have something so strong with such a strong magnetic effect when the Earth has it on its own?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's true. That could be. But you know, the Earth has a magnetic field to it for a
Right.
reason. I imagine the strongest magnetic pull is inside of the Earth. So if we have a magnetic, if the Earth is naturally magnetic, then probably a lot of the molten magma within the Earth is probably magnet.
Right.
And those little shards and the stuff we use to make magnets probably have just worked their way up through the surface and the soil and pieces.
So
that's just my idea on it.
I know I'm laughing because Joe wrote, "Dude, I have so many magnets from work. I can't throw them out. Want to make electricity with them or something. At least 200 of them." Yeah, and that's the other thing that I know that all planets have magnetic fields, and I know it's used. So, but the magnetic fields that we have. Oh Jesus, let me get rid of some of this stuff really quick. The magnetic fields we have are designed to keep us from running into one another. They push us apart. But why does that work when if you flip a magnet over, they're drawn to each other? How come we don't have magnetic polar forces that draw the planets together, but they're all designed to keep us apart? How does that work?
Well, I guess we've just managed to fit ourselves perfectly where we're always turned with our negative side away from or towards. I don't know. It's a good question. It's not something I've ever really looked into. I've obviously looked into geomagnetism because, you know, the effects of that tend to have an effect on the paranormal activity.
Right.
But as far as where magnets come from, I know what creates our magnetic pull.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a good question. That's something I actually am, and this goes to the gentleman who said he had a lot of magnets. I'm actually creating, expanding on my prototype of an invention that requires a high magnetic pull. So if you have any magnets, I'll give you shipping.
So Stuart's asking centrifugal force. Good question. I don't know. I brought that up because I was like, okay, so our gravity keeps us here. I know we have a magnetic field, a magnetic force that keeps us from other things, but to me, magnets are one of the odd ones because there's so many stones that don't do anything like that, but yet we have hematite that are magnets, and we have these other type of magnets, man-made, earth-made, whatever else. But why? I mean, I know that magnetism really works well in. There's a lot of discussion about how magnets work in alien ships and help them hover and help them do all the other stuff. So, is it a earthbound thing or earth-made thing, or is it another?
I mean, it's really hard to tell. You know, I always try to go for the reasonable explanation first. So it's the magnetism between the sun and each planet that keeps it in its place. And over time, the bigger planets have knocked out the little planets, and nothing else is in their way, so they can be on this constant spin.
Right.
And I maybe depending on how much magnetic pull depends on where they sit in our solar system. That's the easy explanation.
Yeah.
Your explanation would probably break my brain tonight, but it's definitely it's kind of a cool idea. I guess I never really thought about, where magnets even came from, but I just always assumed that, magnets were the main center part of our planet.
Right, and that's Joe. I've always thought magnets are more of a chemical reaction with atoms and molecules. Never really thought of it. And Jamie is saying she's so happy. This is awesome. She's so glad you made it tonight. And I have to tell Melody, and I'm going to tell the audience. She said this sounds like a bad sci-fi movie. The magnetic poles align. No, if you want to watch the most amazingly horrible movie ever, go watch Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. That movie is. There is no point to that movie ever, but I watch it every single time it comes on, and it comes on Comet. It's a black and white 1950s Santa movie, and it is horrible. Worst movie I've ever seen, and I've actually seen The Wheel, which is a wheel attacking people. It just rolls around killing people.
Oh
so yes, it's worse than that. So Stuart's saying you're describing an atom. Yes, you. If you honestly think about the way the planets rotate and everything else, it pretty much is like an atom. With the molecules floating around it. Yep. The CD hovers in place in microgravity when it's on. Yes, it does. Magnets without gravity would just form planets, I guess. Says Joe. And then, see what I did? That's on purpose.
That's cool, though. I like it.
The sun has nearly completed a pole shift. Hence the extra whole solar flares. Yeah. And that's affecting a lot of what's going on here too. I can tell you the solar flares are wreaking havoc from a military standpoint, since I do work for the military, but I can't go into it more than that. But just know that we hate it. It is not good for us. So, and when I say us, I just mean any part of the military in the world at all, like, as long as they have stuff that requires energy. Like electric energy or anything else. So, and Melody says, "Yep, every 11 years is when it has a pole shift." So, yep, I agree. Well, I think I broke us on that question. So.
It was a good question. I really liked the different path that it took. It was kind of cool. You definitely stumped me. I mean, you got my brain going to the point where I was like, if I go into that right now, my brain might break.
Yeah. I think I'm going to end the show there then. We're at about an hour 40. And now I left us broken. That's a great place to leave, because that means after all your thought processes happen, when I bring you back, we might have answers.
Yeah. I'm really excited about looking at two different things now. So I'm going to be doing my homework.
You're like, dang it.
No, I'm good. This is exciting stuff for me, or I wouldn't be doing it. I love it.
I should have just stayed at my son's recital.
Another thing to research.
Right. Really quick, before everyone goes, remember Gwendolynn Guthrie, boop, The Fold Mysteries, Facebook.com, The Fold Mysteries, and then TheFoldMysteries.com. TheFoldMysteries.com is where your merch stuff is for the most part, but you also have some videos out there and all that other wonderful stuff whereas the Facebook.com is kind of a play-by-play of what you guys have been doing, where you're going, what you have done in the past. There's some videos out there as well and everything else. It's really cool to go look at. And it kind of gives a more in-depth look at you and Adam. Is that his name? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, Adam. Yeah.
So it kind of gives a play-by-play, a more in-depth look on you guys on a personal note compared to your foldmysteries.com merch store, which just kind of does the store aspect of it and is more formal. So if you want to know the formal side, foldmysteries.com, they have really cool stuff you can go out there to buy too. Christmas is coming up, just saying. Throwing it out there really quick. And Facebook.com if you want to get to know more about her. She also has her Gmail account listed out there. So if you want to send messages or whatever else, it's out there at the Facebook.com site as well. So make sure you go out there and visit Gwendolyn and Adam. Say hello. Tell them I sent you. They'll be more than happy to, say great.
Oh yeah. Definitely say I heard it, John. It's like the stuff I never learned from a school book, and I'd be happy to chat with you. So, yeah, I'm getting tongue-tied. It's late.
You actually have 3 things to do. Don't forget, you have 3 things to do. You have the timeline to look at. You have the magnetic research to do. And you have to go back to listen to this to hear all the weird sounds we all heard that you didn't hear.
Yes, that's the big one. That's the one I'm really excited about. So let's probably do that as soon as we get off.
It was great to have you on, Gwendolyn. I know for sure there was noises 43 minutes into it if you want to go back.
Thank you, yes.
Jamie saying, awesome, guys. So much fun. Have a fabulous night, everyone. Love and Starlight. Melody saying, mahalas, much love, all that good stuff. But I want to thank you for coming on again. I love having you on my show. And that's why I already said you're going to come on again, because that just happens.
Yeah,
and
I love it.
It's always going to these weird conversations, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Stuart, I'm glad you were making it, brother. I'm glad you didn't have to work overtime and your internet didn't break as much as we tried to break it tonight. Mary, you're much welcome. Thank you very much. But other than that, have a great night. Hopefully your door doesn't keep opening up on you. Hopefully they came in, sit down, listen, and went, nah, that story's not for me. And then just went back out. Oh, that wonderful.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I do have one more question.
Yes.
Who's on your lap?
This is Vega. She's my little girl. Vega, Vega.
Oh,
all of my dogs are named after stuff out of stars.
Oh,
but
beautiful.
yeah, so my daughter poked her head in and let them in, and she's freaking out. She's shaking. So I think there's definitely something going on
Going on, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, go check it out and keep Vegas safe and keep the kids safe and keep everything else safe. Jamie's saying my soul origin. So
that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, right. So, but have a great night. Thank you again for being on. Have a very awesome holiday and a great New Year.
You as well. Thank you. Happy holidays to everybody out there listening as well. And we have a special going on right now in our shop. So from now until the holiday season, we're doing autographed copies of Adam's books. And we usually save that for people we get to meet and get to talk to. It's kind of our little special treat. We get to give them our autographs. So this is being offered from now until December. So anybody who can't get out and meet him or hasn't been able to, they can just get their autographed copy online for a short period of time.
Awesome. I know that someone's going to ask me this question as soon as we get offline. They want to know if the book is on audiobooks.
No, it is not. We have not had anybody to do the audiobooks. So that's something we should probably get into. Yeah.
I know I may have 1 or 2 people on here who ask that question every single time. So
that's
I can ask for them before they decide to hunt you down. And
yeah, it's a great idea. It's definitely something that needs to be done. So maybe I can do it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, have a great night. Thank you again. Much love. And
thank you, Tom.
I will be talking to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Tom.
Goodbye. All right, everyone. That's the show for tonight. Next week, I have on someone. Her name is Candy Slater. She's going to be coming on here. I will be posting her advertisement tomorrow. Another kind of more paranormal side, but she does a little bit of everything. And you'll be able to read it when I post it out tomorrow. Another one who I believe she was actually age 12 as well. So she's been doing this for a while. I will never say a long time to a woman when I say an age. So I will just say for a while because I don't want to get beat. I'm smarter than that. I do have 8 older sisters. But She is on my show next week on Monday, the 26th of December. I will not be doing a show. I will post everything out there saying, hey, I'm not going to do a show because I want everyone to enjoy the holidays. I will be enjoying the holidays as well. But right back into January 2nd, I'm going to have someone on then as well. So next week I have a show, a week off, and then I'm back again. So get ready for the post I'm going to put out for next Monday, for the 19th. And other than that, you guys have a great night. Have a great weekend. I will see you all on Monday, hopefully. Other than that, stay safe. Much love, and I will see you all later.